Thanks for joining us. So we got this little square body back in. We did some work on this one several months ago. Put a Ride Tech street grip kit on it, and a few other little odds and ends. Did a little bit of tuning, I think, on the sniper system that's on it, and now it's back for a set of Dakota Digital. We're putting the gauges. We're putting the HDX version in, and here's what they're gonna kind of look like. This is basically the gauges. They have the protective coating on them. We'll peel it back a little bit. There's a little digital screen right here that is programmable for monitoring certain things. So this is the heart of the system. There's a little brain box that goes with it. It comes with all the senders, wiring harness. We'll install all the senders, temperature sender, transmission sensor or generator, and then a sensor for oil pressure. We'll install all those on the motor, and then it's programmable to where we just tell it what gas gauge, fuel center unit this is using. So basically what we have to do, and we've already got a little bit of this started here, is drop the column a little bit. We pull the factory bezel off. That'll come out. And a couple of screws around here. This old original cluster comes out. We unplug the factory ribbon sender wiring from the truck to the back of the gauge, and then we remove some of that to install our own wiring or the new wiring for the sensors. It bolts, that unit that we just looked at bolts right back in place here, and then all the new components go on, and then we'll do some programming of it. It's pretty simple. This one, because of the transmission, we do have to, well, we have a shift indicator that has to be also connected and programmed, and then that will allow this Dakota Digital to light up and tell us what gear we're in. So we're doing those items first, and then we also have the power windows go up and down real slow in this. So we have an aftermarket New Relics kit, I believe it is, from USA One Industries, but it's a power window kit. So we're going to take this apart, replace all the channeling, the felt runs, put the new power window kit in it, and then get his windows working up and down good. So that's all this one's in for right now. So we're going to give you a little step-by-step as we go on this, and just show you how easy these gauges are. As you can tell, we've got the dash pad off, the original gauge cluster out. We still have the steering column loose just to make it a little easier to get to. So one of the things we got to do now is determine where we're going to mount the ECU or the brain box. This is what controls the whole system. I like to mount it close to the stock fuse panel down below, but there's already a lot of items down in there, so you'll just have to determine where it's a comfortable place for you to mount it and get your existing wiring to it that has to come to this. So once those are determined, once that's mounted, this will plug. The way this operates, there's a single cable that will tie the brain box. Get the light here where I can see what we're doing. So you'll plug in this single cable to your brain box, and that cable, the other end, will come up and plug into the back of the gauges. And that's how the signals are sent from the box to the gauges. And that's what's going to make the gauges completely operate as a factory application. Then this system comes with all the sensors, depending on your transmission, Ford or GM. You'll order the kit accordingly. Pulse generator, this will screw onto your transmission. Cable will plug in to it. You'll route the wiring up through the car into the inside of the car and attach the appropriate colored wires to their appropriate location on the box. And you'll do that for the speedometer, comes with your oil pressure and a temp sensor, both, plus an assortment of the brass fittings, depending on what engine you're running. So there's no reason you shouldn't have everything you need in the kit to make your connections. And then the cables for those sensors also, your oil and water temp. Run those wires up, connect them to that. And then once all that's done, making this sound pretty simple, these wires also are to use the stock location turn signals. Now the kit will have turn signal indicators built in the gauge cluster itself, but if you want it to be a little more authentic, it comes with the little pigtails to plug into the LED turn signals so that it will indicate through the stock bezel like original. Once that's all said and done, again, I'm making it sound pretty simple, but this will come up. You'll fit all this up in here. It's a pretty tight fit. And just be cautious, because these are an add-on piece, or a piece that come in the kit, but you have to bolt them on. And they are 3D plastic printed. But then you'll fit all this up, and then it will actually mount in stock screw hole locations. And then your bezel will go over that. So we'll finish that up and get to that point, and then we'll start showing you how it goes back together as we're buttoning it up for the final time. This one we got to adjust the radio a little bit. When we took all the cover off, the radio was loose and it just kind of started moving around, so we're going to attempt to touch some of those things up for the customer as well. And another thing these kits come with, we very rarely use them, but they come with a buzzer. So if you like to hear that annoying buzzing going off when you forgot to turn your lights off or whatever, you can plug this right into the brain box and mount this little buzzer somewhere under the dash, and then you're just like the real deal. So we'll get this a little further along, and then we'll come back and show you how it's going back together. So we finally decided, or made a decision on where we're going to try to mount the box. So what Danny's got going, he's mocking up a little bracket. We'll end up mounting the box to this metal bracket. We're going to cut the bracket down a little bit more. We don't want the bracket to be any wider than the part. That way we have no chance of a wire rubbing on the edge. And then he'll radius all of his corners and do all that. But this bracket's going to go up under the dash and actually mount off the bottom lip. As you can see, there's just so much stuff under this car. They've added stereo stuff, and cruise control's been added, and it's just so bad under here, and it takes up all the space. So this will get mounted like so. The box will go on here and up under the dash to the bottom lip of the dash. It'll be up above the throttle pedal, out of the way of the foot. And then we can bring all, and it's serviceable by being down where we can read it, and then he'll start connecting all the wires and stuff from that. And part of the reason that we're having to mount it in this general area is the pre-made cable that goes from this box to the gauges that sends all the signals to the gauges is only so long. And I think they do offer some longer ones, but not long enough to mount it in other areas that we have more room. So that's currently where we are. He's trying to get all this mocked up. He'll locate his holes, get that done, get his holes mounted up under here for that, and then he'll come in and trim all the, we'll radius all the corners and do some of that, deburr it and all that, so that way we don't hang ourselves on it when we're working on that. So that's kind of where we are now, and then after we get it mounted, we'll do a quick shot of it actually in place. We still have to deal with this other box too, but we may be able to mount it off of this other side, or we may actually just Velcro it Velcro the two together on that. But this is for the gear select sensor to send it from the signal from the transmission up to the gauge cluster. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
Where are you going this week? Tonight?
Oh yeah. So I leave out of here actually in about 45 minutes. I'm heading to Vegas to SEMA show. So I'll send Andrew here some video clips of walking around and some of the cool stuff I see and some cars, and we'll do a little montage after I get back on that. But yeah, we're going there with customer, try to keep up some ideas on a special project we're building, and talk to some new manufacturers. I'm also going to look for some new equipment for the shop. As we're expanding and growing, we could use some updated equipment. So that's kind of the process of or the purpose of going. So yeah, we'll be gone for the rest of the week myself. Looking forward to it.
Go hit the casino.
We might do a little bit of that. We stay at the Golden Nugget area, so we're right there on Fremont Street with all the crazies. Usually, SEMA opens up around the time period of Halloween, so that's when you get to see all the crazies. But that was last week, so yeah, we're going for that. And I don't spend a lot of time in a casino. I don't have enough to lose, so
Put it all in black.
yeah, that's what they say. Anyway, that's kind of where we are right now. So he's getting all that done, and we'll keep up with getting it mounted and some of that, and we'll see you when we get back. Earlier, I was getting ready to leave for SEMA, so while I was gone, Eric finished up on the C10 here. Or it's not C10, it's a Squarebody, right?
C10.
They're all a C10. Anyway, so we finished up the gauges. Got the gauges finished up on the Dakota Digital installation here. And we ran into a few issues. Wiring, this truck has some major wiring issues up under the dash. Looks like a blind 3-year-old with no arms wired it. So one of the things we ran into is when you turn on the headlights, the radio would play. Or if you turned on the radio, the headlights would come on. So we had to, fix that. But we got the gauges working, all installed. We did have to do a Dakota Digital offers an additional thing that we had to do for the gear selecting of the 400 4L80. It's 4L80, right? Yeah, 4L80. So we got all that done, and we had to tie everything into the Holley Terminator fuel injection system. So we got all that done. But you can see the gauges when they light up here. I don't know if it's so bright out there. You need me to hold the phone a little bit. So you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. Let me turn the key back off. So key is off. Then when you turn the key on, they'll go through their calibration mode. And then they also light up even in the daytime. Now when you turn on the headlight switch, they dim a little bit. They're still lit up, but they dim. And that's so they're not so bright at night in your face. So one of the functions, the features of the Dakota Digital Gauges, of course they look like they're all stock, but you have these two buttons here, and these are for programming. And you have these little digital screens, one there, there's one over here. They're called display screens. And you can see it changes what shows up on the screen. Currently it says range, trip B, so you can actually program this to calculate mileage for two different trips. Over here, this one says service, so you can program this to tell you when it's time to service, like oil change or any other thing, by mileage. And as it sees that mileage, it will come up and highlight and tell you time to service. Let me back up. So this is speedometer. So you have your analog speedometer, but you also will have the digital. And then as you see the park indicator, it highlights each gear as you go. So that's all integrated currently on the Terminator program or computer system. It's controlling all of that along with the wiring that ties into the transmission. So then we also have now what this screen shows is this is giving you a digital readout of your voltage, your fuel level in percentage, water temperature, and oil pressure. So those are just some of the neat functions of it. Now the speedometer is programmable in a couple of different ways, and in the instructions that come with the kit, there's several steps that you can go through and different methods of programming the speedometer. I like to use the method that is a calculated mile distance, and you go through a sequence of pushing these buttons. It comes up and says auto calibrate, and then you hit that button at the beginning of a known mile. You drive the vehicle to the end of a known mile and push the button again, and it calculates pulses from the generator on the transmission, converts it. That way, if you change wheels and tires, or tire diameter, or gear ratios, you can reprogram it pretty easy. So we got all that done. Everything works pretty good. Give it back to you. Some of the other stuff that we did on the car, on the truck, is customers complaining about the windows going up and down very slow. And there were several things that were the cause of that. But we did replace all new felt channeling. And one of the things that we found out between an 86 and an 87 is there's a couple of different scenarios on the vent windows. Some of them were a one-piece rubber and some of them were a two-piece rubber. So you really need to know what you have prior to ordering your replacement rubber seals and gaskets, because it will make a difference. So we got all that done. New felt here, we got new felt here. And on the passenger door, it would just barely fit in the top. And what was happening is it was binding up here. And I believe that door over there is an aftermarket door. And we had to actually come in with a porter power and expand the opening to give the rubber seal a little bit more room to allow the glass to go up and down. So once we got all that done, now the windows go up and down really nice. And then the customer had some new door panels, so we just installed those for him while we were here. Some of the wiring in the door panel, or inside the door on the windows, was pretty rough, so we had to cut and splice in some new switches and some new wiring and some plugs. So that's kind of what we've done on this truck while it was here this time. The last time the vehicle was here, we did a Ride Tech front and rear suspension. It was called their Street Grip Kit, and that's what kind of lowered it, gave us the little bit of stance that it's got. Car rides and handles really good now. So that's kind of where we are on this vehicle. It may be coming back for some other upgrades he's talking about doing. But currently, that's where we are. We're waiting on him to get back in town. He'll come pick it up. And also, everybody here at Saxy Rod Shop would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We're politically correct around here in Texas. We say Merry Christmas. And if you travel any this holiday season, please be safe. And hit like and subscribe. And we thank you for your patronage.